And this is Margaret. And we're the Cousins Weird.
We're not
and
together.
We're remote because I'm sick. And
Margaret's
I
sick.
didn't want to expose Colleen or her dad or anybody to this head cold nonsense I got going on.
So,
I will say, I'm not like a name brand person. Like, normally I'm fine using store brand stuff. But, like, one huge exception are tissues. I need Puffs, specifically. Puffs Plus with lotion, or the Vicks one's even better, but Puffs are my jam. Like, I only buy Puffs. And if I buy the store brand, it's for other stuff, not for rubbing on my nose, because, being a ginger with sensitive skin, Kleenex will tear me up. So
well, then you need to splurge on your tissues.
I do. And honestly, you pay, 50 cents more if that? Like,
right.
There's the difference between name brand tissues and store brand is real low. You know what I mean? Because they're cheap anyway, like $2 or something.
Right.
I'll be muting myself on and off when I have to cough or blow my nose so I don't make people puke with my
Yeah, last week I had the sinus thing going on, but not like you were having. It was just more sinus pressure up in my head, and I still kind of have it. I've been using Flonase like crazy, and I've been making oregano tea, which has helped.
Oregano is a great antiviral.
Yeah, so I figured, let me do that. Let me try some of that, and I inhaled it. Like, I made it and let the steam, and that helped. Maybe you should try that.
Back when I worked at the health food store, there's a company called North American Spice Company or something, and they make supplemental oregano extract to eat, and they have a nose spray that's amazing, and it burns like crazy.
I bet,
you spray that shit up your nose, and it hurts, but holy crap, does it work.
Yeah, even just smelling the tea, having the steam burnt my nostrils, but it started feeling better, so you should try it.
Yeah, I have some. I'm gonna go. Hopefully it's not expired. It's one of those things where even if it's expired, I might use it anyway.
Yeah. Brew some oregano.
Yeah.
Up and inhale it.
And I had we're late coming out this week, and it's my fault, because the days that we were supposed to meet up, I had issues with things. Like, my car ended up needing more work, because, this is I think I've spent close to $3,000 on this car this year.
Oh, God, it's awful.
It's terrible. They are, and I have an old car. It's an 09 Prius, and it's beat up, but when I bought it, it was already pre-beat up, looks-wise. It's got dents and stuff in it, and I didn't care because I got it for such a steal. I drive a lot, so I need something with good mileage, and Priuses are awesome with that. But this year, it's just been one thing after another. It's like, every year, I plan to spend about $1,000, just, $1,000 is the max I want to spend on my car in a year, for maintenance.
Yeah.
I got my car back finally. It doesn't sound like a Harley anymore, which is nice. Sorry, I went on a really boring tangent there about my stupid car.
It's alright. Yesterday I went kayaking, and I went to this place where you only can get to by kayak. It's a beach, and it's on Lake Ontario. And the waves yesterday were as tall as me. Like, they were so high.
God.
And
did you slip yourself?
What?
Did you get swamped or tip over?
No, we parked our kayaks on the calm side, because you go through this pond to get to it. And we parked on one side and then walked over to the other side. There's a sandbar there, and we got our stuff down. We swam, and I got smashed in the face by waves as tall as me in the lake. You could surf. They were curling waves. You could surf on these waves, and smashed me in the face. Lost my sunglasses. So much fun though.
I was gonna say that sounds like awesome fun though.
It was fun. But yeah, and on the way back we paddled towards it in the wind, so it's hard getting there. On the way back, you could just point your kayak in the right direction, and the wind the wind was so strong. But I'm a little sore today because of using all those muscles and getting smashed by waves. And after my neck surgery, if I do a lot of lifting things, it bothers me. But other than that, I feel pretty good, so I'm happy. Getting lake water smashed up your nose kind of clears things out a little bit, too.
Oh, yeah, I do it. Or give you an sinus infection.
Or give you one. So I put a little Flonase up there this morning, hoping that will make sure. I don't know. We'll see. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so This week, I am talking about the Trans-Alleghany Lunatic Asylum.
Ooh. Pennsylvania?
It's in West Virginia.
Okay. Allegheny makes me think PA.
Oh.
But that's okay.
It ran from 1864 until 1994 by the government of West Virginia in the city of Weston, West Virginia. So Weston, West Virginia. They used Thomas Story Kirkbride's plan for, he was a doctor and an advocate for the mentally ill, and he founded the American Psychiatric Association. He emphasized the importance of light and fresh air and said asylums should be built with long halls, 12-foot ceilings, and lots of windows and ventilation to allow cross breeze. So they built this asylum with all these hallways for people to walk and have lots of fresh air and get light and things like that. He felt that the patients had freedoms to roam the halls and have their own rooms for privacy. So he was a big advocate for the mentally ill, which is great. And he developed this plan, and like there's 12 asylums across the country that built their asylums like his plan said, what he thought you should have. So they started building in 1858, but paused because the Civil War was happening. The partial constructed hospital became a military post called Camp Tyler, and they resumed construction again in 1862, and the doors opened in 1864. So there was, like, stuff happened there during the war. People died, obviously. So it has kind of, like, before it was even an asylum, before people were brought in to be treated, it already had, like, this dark history.
Yeah.
So it was total of 242,000 square feet. It's made of hand-cut stone masonry. It's the largest in the United States for hand-cut stone masonry building, and second in the world next to the Kremlin in Moscow. So it's gigantic.
Cool.
So it originally was built to house 250 patients and they would have their own rooms. So they had private rooms because that was what the Kirkbride's plan was, that they should have privacy. So they need privacy and they need freedom to roam. So there were 2.5 miles of hallway to allow roaming. That's a shit ton of hallways.
Yeah, you get lost.
Yeah.
Get tired before you come back to your room. I can't find my way back. I'm exhausted.
I know where I am. The walls were 2.5 feet thick, because, that. It was located in a secluded rural area, and because of where it was located, it was a self-sufficient, contained compound, basically. So it was designed to provide everything the patients need to make them feel at home. And it was on 666 acres, which I was like, ew, 666. Yeah, they should have bought one more acre or got one less.
One less, yeah.
Yeah. They had their own working farm, dairy, water plant, gas, cemetery on site. So they could feed everyone in the building, including the workers and everyone, right from their own garden, right from their own everything. They made everything on site. They didn't have to bring much in because they were self-sufficient, which is kind of cool. The idea behind this was very cool, I thought, especially for the 1800s. It was very open and progressive, like working with people mentally ill. But sadly, the original plan was short-lived. And the conditions in the asylum declined drastically. So in 1881, there was an increase of mental health diagnosis in the country. And the asylum became overrun, and they had 500 more patients than it was intended. So intended originally was supposed to be 250. Now there's 750 people in this asylum. So obviously they're not getting their own rooms anymore. Patients were crammed together 4 to 5 in a room that was intended for one person. So they were just like pushing people in here. The thing is, the reason why mental illness was on the rise is what they would diagnose for a mental illness. So I'm going to give you a list from 1864 to 1899. Here's a list of reasons to be admitted into a lunatic asylum. Okay?
You're a woman.
Well, kicked by a horse in the head.
Okay.
Hereditary predisposition.
Okay.
ill treatment by the husband. So if your husband was a jerk to you, you get admitted.
Why is it the husband instead of the woman?
Imaginary female trouble.
Oh, geez.
Hysteria, which is related to females.
Yes.
Immortal life.
Okay. I think I'm immortal. Jealousy?
Yes. Laziness.
Oh.
If your son got married, apparently their son got married and the woman lost it. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Masturbation.
And what?
Syphilis.
Ooh.
Masturbation for 30 years. So apparently they masturbated for 30 years and they felt they were crazy.
Oh my god.
Taking medication to prevent conception.
Oh, you're crazy if you don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah. Menstrual deranged. So apparently you had some PMS. Yeah. Mental excitement. Novel reading. Oh my goodness, you read? You're a woman and you
read novels? You should only read the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nymphomania.
Oh god.
Opium habit, which I should say that there's parts of the thing that they took on for alcohol and substance abuse. So there were parts of it that were designated for those reasons. Overaction of the mind.
Oh.
Overstudy of religion.
Yeah.
Overtaxing mental powers. There's a big long list here. Their parents were cousins.
Oh. You should put the parents in there, not the people.
Political excitement.
Oh no.
Politics.
Those two things too, I can kind of see where I've met people who are very political that need to be put in a mental institution.
Religious enthusiasm.
Oh god.
Fever. Loss of a lawsuit. Fits and desertion from the husband.
Oh.
Asthma.
What?
Yeah.
You're a lunatic.
You're a lunatic.
You can't breathe.
Bad company.
All I can think of is the band, the 80s band.
I know. Bad habit. Bad whiskey. Bloody. Yeah, I don't know. Bloody flux.
You're shitting diarrhea. You need to go to the lunatic asylum.
Yeah. Business nerves. So I'm thinking like they're stressed from work. Congestion of the brain.
Probably should be somewhere where there's doctors if that's happening.
Yes. Death of a son in war, which I can see that would make you depressed.
Yeah.
Deranged masturbation.
What? I'm like, how does it, what makes it different than regular masturbation?
I don't know. Maybe you're doing weird shit. I don't know.
Maybe you're just constantly masturbating for 30 years.
Maybe. Dissolute habits. Domestic affliction. Domestic trouble. Dropsy. Egotism. Epileptic fit. They love to put people with epilepsy in insane asylums.
Yeah, because everything we talk about in the past has to do with epilepsy and syphilis, usually together.
Yeah. Exposure and quackery. Fighting fire. Suppressed masturbation. So either you masturbate or you don't masturbate. Either way, you're not.
Yeah.
Suppression of menses. So if you don't have your period. The war. Which PTSD, there is a whole section for veterans they didn't know what to do with. Uterine derangement.
That uterus just won't stay put. It's strange.
It's wandering.
Yeah.
Venereal excess.
What?
Yeah.
Is that?
I don't know.
You have
woman trouble. Superstition. Shooting of daughter. Smallpox.
You shot your daughter. Go to the insane asylum.
Yeah, I guess you need
Let's
to be
How about you have smallpox? Let's put you in this building with a ton of other people, so you all can die.
Snuff eating for 2 years. Gathering in the head. Greediness, grief. Gunshot wound. Rumor of husband's murder.
What was the venereal thing? I'm looking it up.
Venereal excesses. Sexual abuse and stimulants. Sexual derangement. False confinement, feebleness of intellect, fell from a horse, female disease, and dissipation of nerves. So that's just a long list of things that were people were admitted to the asylum for.
Okay, according to the National Institutes of Health, excessive venery has to do with masturbation, incontinence, diseases resulting from venereal excesses, masturbation, and continence.
Oh.
So it's another masturbation thing.
Yeah, you masturbate, you go. If you don't masturbate, you go. It's the whole thing. The asylum was often a dumping ground for the socially unwanted. Like, if you didn't want to deal with someone, you just put them in there. You're good. Just get rid of them. Asylums would actually offer money to people who dropped off a patient. Like, here's some money since you brought this person here.
What? Like, oh, where are they getting people? Where are they getting money from the government?
I guess. Yeah, they're run by the government. For every person that's in there.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're able to pay people so they get more people in there so they can get more money. Children with Down syndrome would be brought there just because they were different. Those with epilepsy and diabetes often were put in asylums. And of course, people with drug and alcohol uses would be sent there also. So if anyone didn't want to deal with you, you got sent there, basically. Women actually were considered property of their husbands. We know this. So they were particularly vulnerable to be sent to the asylum. If the husband didn't if they weren't agreeing with the husband, insubordinate to them, if they were depressed, in menopause, had female problems, hysteria, all that stuff, women were very vulnerable to be sent there in general just because they were women. Because they had no rights. Due to overcrowding conditions and things worsened. Many patients were suffering malnutrition because they were making food there. They were self-sufficient for 250 patients, not 700, whatever. In 1913, they changed the name of the hospital from the Trans-Alleghany Lunatic Asylum to the West State Hospital, which sounds nicer than a lunatic asylum. Always just has a bad kind of, but it didn't change anything about it. In the 30s, several auxiliary buildings were put in there, including a TB wing and other places that put like veterans where they didn't know what to do with them, and so they added more buildings around it. The treatment of patients were awful. They were using bloodletting. They used insulin coma therapy, and solitary confinement was used a lot, which we know is like a mental torture for people.
Right. So you're going to take people who are delicate, have a mental delicacy. You know what I mean? They're like fragile already, and you're going to put them in solitary confinement. And you're going to push them over the edge. So if they didn't belong there before, they definitely did after.
Exactly. So
nobody probably belonged there, even people.
Yeah, and the people that were brought there that didn't have any mental illness developed a mental PTSD from being there, which developed issues, which they ended up needing therapy, but not the therapy they were given. In 1938, it had 6 times the patient than was intended. Staff were outnumbered and couldn't handle the patients. And by the 1950s, it had 2,600 patients, 10 times more than what it was built for. And at that point, there were only 2 to 3 nurses per 100 to 200 patients.
How many nurses per 100 patients?
2 to 3.
That's awful.
Yeah.
How are you going to take care of that many people?
They can't. They're outnumbered. They can't do it. The Charleston Gazette did an investigation and found that conditions were horrible. They reported patients sleeping on the floor in freezing cold rooms. Sanitation became an issue. The windows that were supposed to be bright and had let sunshine in were now covered in grime, and the wallpaper was peeling off the walls, and nothing was being taken care of because it wasn't a priority. They had to try to deal with these patients. They couldn't handle the number of patients. The sanitation was not a thing. Those patients that were deemed uncontrollable were put in cages or solitary confinement, like literal cages in the middle of hallways. Also, they were chained to the walls. Now, at that time, they reported this. Awful. Nothing changed. Like, it didn't make a difference because there was such a stigma around mentally ill, no one cared.
That's awful.
They would use hydrotherapy where the patient was put in a cold bath for hours to induce fatigue to make them sleep. So basically you're giving them hypothermia where they pass out.
Oh my God.
They would treat depression with needle showers, which they would spray pressurized water at them that was only 50 degrees.
Oh my God.
Shock therapy was introduced in the 30s to treat depression and schizophrenia. It eventually became the hospital, the Trans-Alleghany Asylum became the training ground for lobotomies by Dr. Walter Freeman. And he performed over 4,000 lobotomies, which often led healthy patients with physical and cognitive damage, obviously.
Right.
He liked to use the ice pick method, which is the most primitive of things you could ever think of.
Yeah.
He would take that long rod and he'd stick into the patient's eye socket and use a hammer to force it to sever connective tissues in the brain and the prefrontal cortex. So they're just shoving an ice pick through your eye socket into your brain to sever that part of your brain. This has actually caused a lot of deaths, we would know.
Yeah.
This is horrible. Almost 40% of Freeman's patients were gay individuals who were subjected to lobotomies in an effort to alter their homosexual orientation.
Oh my god. And it didn't work.
No. It probably just made them not want to do anything because they're cognitively damaged,
Well, they see it worked. They're no longer gay. They're no longer a person anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they're just they just sit there. They're not like they have no personality.
No, and it left healthy individuals severely disabled for the rest of their life, so they never would get out of the asylum. If they did, they'd just go home and sit in a chair, and that's it. It's awful. Many of these patients had to be retaught to perform basic functions of living, such as eating and using the bathroom afterwards.
Oh my god.
Around 15% of these patients died from the procedure. You saw American Horror Story Asylum, right? The second season, which is my favorite season. The doctor portrayed in it, the actor was James Cromwell. He played the doctor that was doing all the experiments. He's based off of Dr. Walter Freeman because he was terrible.
Yes.
So that character was based off him. That whole episode that whole season was based off of different asylums that were like horrible at the time. So this one was one of the ones that it was.
James Cromwell is the pig guy, right? Wasn't he in Babe?
Yeah.
Farmer?
Farmer, yep.
Odd note about him. I love him. He's awesome. He became vegan while he filmed the movie Babe.
Oh, he did?
Because he said it was just him and a bunch of animals. And he said that while he's working with these animals and they're sweet and they're, like, he got to know the animals as, like, little individual personalities. Right. He goes, and then we'd go on break and we'd go back and they'd have ham sandwiches. And he just spent his whole day working with this adorable little pig. Yeah, and he's like, I just couldn't do it anymore. And so he's this huge pig advocate, which, I don't know, anybody who knows me knows how much I love pigs. And I've always said, when I get older, I'm going to have a pet pig. Like, when all my kids move out of the house, I'm going to adopt a pig and it's going to be my pet. I don't want a dog. I want a pig, damn it. But yeah,
well, they're just as smart and they can be trained.
They're smarter than dogs.
Yeah.
Because you can train dogs to do things where pigs have problem-solving capabilities.
Right.
Like, people that own pigs, like, you have to find sophisticated locks. Because they will figure out how to open. They'll figure out how to open doors and shit on their own.
And I say Piper does that. Piper is smarter than the average dog. She figured out how to open anything. Like the fridge.
She likes peppers.
She loves peppers. She's a different dog. So the hospital had lots of deaths, obviously, and murders happening because we had some real deranged people there that were bad. The mentally, criminally insane people there, on top of people that shouldn't be there, were put in there by family members because they didn't want to deal with them. So 2 patients tried to strangle another with a bed sheet because they were sick of his snoring. When it didn't work, they cut him down and crushed his head with a metal bed frame. Many former employees said they were attacked by the patients. Nurses were raped. It was just a horrible place to be. A nurse went missing and was found.
Yeah, just a horrible place to be a patient or to work.
Yeah. A nurse went missing and she was found 2 months later. They didn't know where she was. At the bottom of an unused staircase, her body was dead. She was dead and rotting.
Ugh.
In the 60s, they added a medical center and a morgue because there were so many deaths. They had their own cemetery. So people would live their life, die there, and be buried there. It's
How awful.
In 1985, now this is in our lifetime, the Charleston Gazette tried to expose the conditions again. They said it was dirty and the unkept patients were left naked and confined to dirty beds and bedrooms that had feces smeared all over it. Nothing had changed. It didn't matter. In 85, even though they tried to expose it, no one did anything. In 1992, again, they exposed the conditions in the hospital. Nothing changed, nothing happened until Greg Edward Bowe died after being attacked by another patient. And then another patient, Brian Scott B., committed suicide, and they didn't know it for 8 days. He was in his own room.
Oh my God.
So that kind of triggered people to start looking a little more. In the 1990s, it was actually listed as a National Register of Historical Places because it was one of the first places
right.
Finally, in 1994.
The year I graduated high school.
Yes. It was forced to close due to the physical condition of the hospital because it had become unsafe to keep people in it. That's why it closed. Yeah. And a new hospital is called William Sharp Jr. Hospital, opened in May of 94. So over 2,000 people were buried in that cemetery, and only a few of the headstones have names. Most of them have just a number on a brick. So they weren't even people. They were just shoved in the ground with a brick with a number on it. Like, it's horrifying. I can't even imagine. And, like, the fact that this went on until the 90s, like, this horrible treatment of people, is sickening. Sickening.
It is. Criminal.
It is criminal. Over the years, there were many ideas to do with the hospital. The West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources auctioned it, finally, on August 29th, 2007, and Joe Jordan bought it for $1.5 million. He decided to change the name back to Trans-Alleghany Lunatic Asylum like it was, and it's now open as a historical property and offers group and private paranormal tours and investigations, and also they do historical tours, like talking about the history of mental health in our country and the use of, so like bringing awareness to that. So with this dark history that it has, it's not surprising to know that it's a haunted place. It holds a lot of negative energy there, and it's obvious it's going to. And if you don't believe in ghosts or hauntings, you cannot deny that negative energy remains in the building.
Right.
Like, you can feel it when you walk in. According to their official website, there are at least 8 resident spirits that reside there that they know who they are and they can talk about. Some workers only last a few days because of all the weird things that happen. They're like, nope, I'm out of here. I'm not staying. This place is haunted. Right. Joe Jordan's daughter Rebecca had her own scary experiences. She has felt touches on her shoulder when no one was there. Witnessed at one time 40 doors in the hallway she was in open and slam at once. There are 906 doors in this building, by the way. 906 doors.
Crazy.
There was a former doctor that says that a spirit followed her home from work, and it still haunts her to this day.
Can you imagine being a janitor in this place with its 2.5 miles of hallways?
Yeah, how many janitors do you need? I mean, you'd have to have 50 janitors to get through.
It's like, you got all your steps in for the whole week in one day.
Yes.
Jeez.
The rooms they use for isolation, so the ones that they put people in for, solitary confinement, they hold the most violent energies. Visitors reported being pinched, pushed, scratched in the hall and hearing voice saying, "Get out of here." The oldest part of the hospital they call the Civil War wing, because that's what was built when the Civil War broke out, and they used it as that camp. It is said to be haunted by the former patient, Ruth. She was violent in life, and she really didn't like guys. She would throw shit at them, she'd scream and holler, she'd bang her chair against, she'd sit in her chair and jump up and down in it. It said you can hear her banging in her chair and yelling, and she pushes men against walls. Another patient, Jake, haunts the kitchen area in the Civil War wing. He's known to move things across the floor, and many investigators have caught him on EVP talking to visitors. So he's trying to communicate, but people don't hear him. But he's not violent, really. I mean, he moves things around, but he's not really that scary, where Ruth is, more violent.
Yeah.
The second floor saw a lot of violence. One man was stabbed to death 17 times in the bathroom, and people have reported hearing screams coming from that bathroom. 2 other men hung themselves in room 408, at the same time. Shadow figures have been seen in there, and EVP captured voices saying, "Get out." Objects also move around on their own. On the 3rd floor, the man that they killed for snoring, he actually roams around along with someone named Big Jim and a nurse named Elizabeth. And they, people hear strange noises and weird things happening on that floor. On the 4th floor was used for patient families and visitors when they came. There's no way I would have visited there. Nope. The tour guides claim they have been chased off the 4th floor by sounds of footsteps behind them. They're like running away from something. They don't know what it is.
Nice.
Room 608, the door closes and opens on its own. One visitor says she felt faint and couldn't breathe while touring that floor. She felt like she was being suffocated. She couldn't handle it. A well-known spirit spends her time on the 4th floor. Her name's Lily, and she's only 9 years old. She likes to play games with visitors and staff, and in the room that she's in, they keep a room up there that just has toys in it for her. Toys will move, music box will start and play on their own. There are 2 stories about Lily. One is that she was dropped off at the hospital by her parents because they didn't want to deal with her, which probably makes sense in the 1800s. They probably did do that.
Probably.
The other one was that she was born there because her mother was a patient, and that often happened.
Yeah.
If, someone was born, and then she was cared for by the employees that worked there. The staff would care for her on that floor. But both stories say that at 9 years old, she died of pneumonia. There was an employee of the building now who said that she brought a red ball and a doll for Lily. And no matter where she puts it in the morning, the next day it's moved to a different spot. So Lily plays with it and moves it around the building.
That's creepy.
Kid ghosts creep me out. Yes. I don't know why, they just do. And she's not violent, she's just playing, but it's creepy.
Because it's a kid that died. It's just, sad.
Yeah, it is sad. And she died there. Poor little girl.
And if she was born there or dropped off, either way.
It's terrible. Ward C was the most dangerous ward in the building. It held the most violent women, which I'm like, you get them, girl. Because you probably were there by your stupid husband. You were nothing wrong with you, and you're like, I'm going to go out fighting.
I'd be pissed if somebody put me in an asylum for having PMS.
Yeah.
Think that's bad? You just wait.
Yeah. Guards would have to, be really careful opening doors and looking around to see, because a lot of times they wait on the other side of the door and try to jump them and stuff when they went to the asylum. Anyway, visitors say you hear screams. People get their hair pulled in this area. And it is said that if you want to have a physical contact with a ghost or a spirit or energy, you go to Ward C. You're going to feel something.
I'll pass.
Margaret's like, no, thank you.
I don't want any real ghosts. I want to go to a haunted house and have people grab me because I know it's not real, and it still scares me. I want to go to a real haunted house, but I don't want no ghost grabbing me.
Oh, I don't. I want to. I want to feel that.
I don't want to be shaken. Just tap me on the shoulder.
Yeah, and I think that's probably good.
I'm fine with that.
And we're fine there because we're women. They're not going to shove us against the wall.
That's true. Yeah, they might give us a high five. High five me, ladies.
In Ward F, visitors feel touches on the shoulder and sounds of gurneys rolling down the hall. Some claim that they heard male voice whispering an evil warning in their ear, but it never said what the warning was. There is a fan in Ward F that they say if you ask it a question, it will turn right for yes and left for no. And there's no electricity in this section of the hospital.
Oh, yikes.
So if you go where that fan is and you ask it a question, it'll answer you. Shadow people creep me out.
Me neither. I don't like that.
They're seen many areas of the hospital at all hours by staff and visitors, and they like to peek around doorways at people. No! Don't like shadow people.
No, don't be peeking at me around any corners. No thanks.
So there's a former nurse that worked at the hospital that is now a tour guide. So she's older.
What?
She's a tour guide. I know. Her name's Sue Parker. She began working there in 1967 as a nurse and psychiatric aide in the admissions department. She became convinced it was haunted before, while she worked there. She said so did other people working there. She said that she's seen shadow people throughout the building. She states one time a spirit told her to take a Bible to the 3rd floor and violently pushed her to get her there. Then told her to read Matthew 10 through 11. When she did, a loud noise started to happen, and then when she stopped, the noise stopped.
Oh, no.
Yeah. She says you can see faces looking out from the brick walls.
What? No! That's terrifying.
No! I'm hoping she's just crazy. One day, Nurse Parker and a fellow employee were opening up the hallways, and they saw wet human footprints going down the hall that led to a chair. There were adult-sized and child-sized ones. They said that they lasted several days, and they'll occasionally, to this day, reappear when it's damp out. Yeah. A female tour guide talked about sitting in a room on the Ward 1 when all of a sudden something grabbed her ankles, and she couldn't move her feet or get out of the chair. And it lasted for a bit, and then they let her go. In 2009, Ghost Adventurers did an overnight investigation, which we knew they would be because it's like one of the most famous haunted places in America. And they declared the hospital haunted. I don't really care what they declare, but I just wanted to throw it in there. That they did say that they found proof that it was haunted. Overall, people say that there is an overwhelming feeling of sadness when you go there, and I can imagine, just knowing the history, it's going to feel crappy there. You do feel like you're surrounded by spirits. Like, there is a heaviness in the air. People hear disembodied voices, screams, footsteps, gurneys, and slamming doors. They witness objects being moving suddenly. There's cold spots. Furniture moves on its own. And they see partial and full embodied apparitions in there. Apparitions, I should say. Not apparitions. Others have been touched, pushed, or in scratched, too. No, don't you scratch me. No. That's not allowed. They also said they can smell perfume and tobacco in certain areas when there's like no one around. So it's one of our nation's. I don't want to smell anything that shouldn't be there. Right. It's one of the nation's most haunted attractions, so people go there because it's haunted. Like, that's the whole point of going to. I mean, there's the historical piece of it too, but I mean, the paranormal piece is what attracts people to go there.
Right.
On Halloween, they have a haunted house. Or for the month of October, they have a haunted house, a fall festival, and a Halloween asylum ball, which
oh my god,
go to.
Me too.
They also have events all throughout the year, like cool, all sorts of things. Go on their website and see all the cool stuff they do there. It's really neat. The main building of the asylum is known as Kirkbride. It holds several rooms that serve as a museum. It's located on the first floor. There are paintings, poems, and drawings made by patients and art therapy programs. A room dedicated to the different medical treatments and restraints used in the past. Artifacts such as straitjackets and hydrotherapy tub are there. The tour guides dressed in clothes that resemble 19th century nurses' outfits with the blue dress and white apron and the white cap and white shoes. You can go on group or private ghost hunts. And then there's also just historical stuff, which I think it's really important to highlight the horrible treatment people in the past and to show what we need to do in the future to help people that have mental illness. But that's the horrifying story of the Trans-Alleghany Lunatic Asylum and how horrible it was. People were treated there, and I'm sure I could have got more gruesome and the things they do, but it makes me so sad. I couldn't read any more about it. I was like, I can't even imagine these people being put in there and living in there. Literally, there was a man that was spent basically 50 years of his life there, and when it closed, he was like cried because that's all he knew.
It was his home.
It was his home. And that's in the conditions that he must have lived in. And the fact that he was probably being brought to a better place, he didn't know any different. Like, that's all he...
Yeah. Ugh. That's sad.
It's sickening. It just made me feel yucky after researching it, just because I know that these are real people being treated horribly, and they should be haunting the shit out of it.
They should. Should go hunt the bastards that were responsible for it being a shitty place.
And that just shows you how government-run things aren't necessarily regulated in any way. The government ran that. It wasn't a privately owned place.
Right.
The government of West Virginia, which was federally funded, so it was even on a federal level getting funding to the state, and the state ran it. Like, no one went in there and made sure they were, like, where's the inspections? Like, why was
it's
this
because the money coming from the government to run it went into someone's pocket, probably.
Yeah, exactly. It lined someone's pocket, and that's why they offered money to people to get people to come there. It's sickening. And that wasn't just that asylum. Like, asylums across the country during that time were offering money because they wanted more money in their pocket. So the more people they had, so they were overpopulating these asylums.
Corruption.
And horrible corruption. But you think about, like, nursing homes. Elderly care facilities. There's some to this day that are terrible to people. It's like the most vulnerable of our society are the most vulnerable to be treated horrible.
And a problem too with that is the caretakers in like senior care facilities get paid less money than the people working at Burger King.
Oh yeah, CNA is nothing.
I have a friend who is a CNA, and she's not a CNA right now because you can't. It's like, even though she personally found the work very rewarding and she was really good at it, she's a very caring person. You probably know the person I'm talking. Yeah, you probably know the person I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she's making more money managing a retail establishment than she was. And it's like we need people like her to be a CNA that they genuinely care about people and want to take care of people, but we can't pay them enough to pay their bills. And it's disgusting. And you have to be certified. You have to take a class and pass a test and get a certification to do it. Mm-hmm. So they should be getting paid more than someone who can go into McDonald's or Burger King and flip burgers or take money. And I worked at Panera and I got paid like $13 an hour. And now the minimum wage for food service is $15 an hour.
Now I think everyone deserves a livable wage, regardless.
I do too.
But sure. I also think that if you are responsible for human beings' lives, you should be paid more money. And like I just think about, I work in preschool, and people working in preschool, early childhood, birth through 5, are so minimally paid, and they're responsible for the lives of people's babies. And they're so minimally paid that the people that are, it's like they have so much responsibility on them, and the rules and regulations around early childhood programs are so strict, more strict than schools have. Right. And the expectations put on them are too much. And that's the same way I think when it comes to, CNAs and everything else. Like their responsibility is so big that they never get paid enough, and it's sad.
I don't think child care workers in general, teachers, especially under like school, like preschool teachers, don't get paid enough. Like if you had a nanny come in to watch your kid, just your one kid, you would pay them more money than what these teachers get paid to watch a room full of kids all day.
Yeah. And our teachers, the lead teachers in the classroom in our program, have to have their bachelor's in early childhood. And then if you're in a school district, pre-K, you have to be certified. And you're not getting paid what the teachers are being paid. The K through 12 teacher get paid more than the pre-K teacher. And they have the same amount of responsibility. Actually, a little more. The kids are younger, and the expectations on them are higher to what they have to do with these children. So it's sick. It's sick. I don't get it.
You get 3-year-olds that don't know that are potty trained. So you have to you have to change diapers.
Oh, they're puking on you. I did it for years, and now I work in the administrative part of it. And to be honest with you, a lot of that change was because I couldn't handle the stress of it. The stress was too much, and the responsibility was so much that I was like, my God, like I have these babies in my care, and the expectation of all the things, like we couldn't even have their coats touch in the cubbies. Like you had to make sure their coats weren't touched. What? Why does that matter? But that's part of the licensing regulation. So it's like the people just aren't. My kid is over here making faces at me and dancing. What a nerd.
Your kid who's going to be 21 tomorrow.
Yeah, my 21-year-old almost is like shaking his butt and dancing and laughing at me. Like a 10-year-old. Some things never change.
Nice.
So anyway, that's that. That was depressing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Colleen I pick the gross ones and Colleen picks the depressing ones.
Yeah, I do. I really love hauntings, and I love that stuff, but usually when it comes with hauntings come with bad things.
Yeah, bad things happen and it makes the haunting. Yeah.
So. Anyway, my poor doggy. My doggy's being so good. He's in the bedroom. I'm in the bedroom recording, and he's laying on the bed with his head on a pillow, and he didn't bark or anything. He was a good boy. You good boy? He's so cute. Anyway, so let's talk about something fun. We're going to be at AnchorCon on August 20th and 21st, but we're actually doing a recording live at 3 p.m. on August 20th, so you want to get your tickets. You go to our Facebook or Instagram, and you follow us, and you'll see that we have put the link on there in a flyer about it, so you can buy your tickets for either the whole weekend if you want to go the whole weekend, because there's so many things at AnchorCon you can see. Famous people are going to be there. If you like any kind of nerdy thing like we do, you're going to love it there. So make sure to get your tickets for that and save the date. And when you do get your ticket, make sure you tag us that you got it so we know you're coming, because we're really excited for you. You can have 30 people be in our room with us when we do our live recording.
Yay! Come see us. It's going to be so much fun. And if you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email. Our email address is thecousinsweird@gmail.com.
Yeah, if there's something you want us to cover at any time, just let us know. We would love to hear your ideas and what you are interested in.
And if you want to support us through our Patreon page, we have 2 different tiers. We have the Freaky Friends. There's $1 a month. And I don't remember all the stuff that you get, but Colleen does.
You get a sticker and you get bonus episodes.
If you want to be a terrible trender, that's $5 a month, and that gets you a free yearly gift and ad-free episodes, plus all the stuff that you get for Freaky Friends too.
Plus a monthly live chat with other Patreons and us. So we'll be hang out with you once a month, and we're excited about that. And then, the best way to support us is by sharing us on your social media. Share us with your friends, like our episodes, share our episodes, spread the word, tell everyone you know. Listen to the Cousins Weird.
Yeah, go on your favorite podcast platform and rate us on that platform. Like our episodes, subscribe, so you don't ever miss an episode if you subscribe.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a wrap.
Stay freaky.
Bye.
Bye.